What's going on, guys? Hope you guys are doing well. What we're going to be doing today in this video is setting up the original DJI Osmo Action for a talking head shot. So it's a little overcast, not really the best conditions to show what this camera is capable of, but we're going to roll with it anyway. The DJI Osmo Action 1 is still holding its value, and I think that's because it's still a really great camera. It's a really great action camera. It's pretty easy to use as an action camera. But if you want to use it as just a talking head camera, you can get some mixed results. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to dial one in and get the best results possible while using an iPhone as your monitor, and then also using the Blackmagic app to measure your white balance and set that manually inside of the Osmo Action. Before we get started with the settings, I wanted to show you guys the little kit that I'm using. I just had the DJI Osmo Action with no external microphone on top of a cheap K&F Concepts tripod, and then I'm using a small rig magic arm as my phone mount so that I can use my phone as my screen instead of that little bitty tiny screen on the front of the Osmo Action. Okay, so this is the DJI Osmo Action app. This is my phone and the camera is up above it, but this is what using the app as a monitor looks like. Let's go over the settings that I have for this shot right here. I'm in 1080-30. That's just because the Canon T3i that I'm using as my A cam, 1080-30, and also I'm editing on a $100 Dell Latitude laptop, so handle the big file sizes. So we're in 1080-30, and then let's go up to the settings. I'm going to go over to manual, and we're going to run the ISO as low as possible, double our shutter speed there, and our exposure is perfect with the weather conditions that I have. I'm going to show you a little bit more about exposure in just a minute. So when I go down to the three little dots in the bottom left hand corner, you can change your format from MP4 to MOV. We're going to be in MP4 today. You can turn your rock steady off, which is going to remove the crop from the outside of your video. You get quite a bit of a larger image with the stabilization turned off. That's just personal preference. If you want a more closed down image, definitely run the rock steady. If you want a more wider field of view, run it off. I'm going to run it off today. I think you're going to get better audio quality with that off because I'm going to be closer to the camera. And then you can turn your de-warp off, and that's just going to allow for an even wider field of view there. Shooting outdoors like I'm doing right now, it really doesn't matter if the edges of the image are warped a little bit. So it's a different look, but just by turning the de-warp on and the rock steady on, you can close down and get more of a traditional camera look if that's what you're after. So white balance. Let's talk about white balance really quick. So you only have three choices right here. You have auto, underwater, and then custom. And for custom, you can just manually change the temperature. Now, how I find white balance is probably a backwards way of doing this, but I go to my Blackmagic app, which is a free app. You can put that on Android or iPhone. And this is how I get my white balance with that app. This is how I gauge it. So I've got my little white card. I'm just going to put that right in front of it and see what the white balance is reading inside of this Blackmagic app. So it's telling me about 5800 right there. If I put it right here, maybe 55. Let's go 5600. That's what we're going to use for the DJI Osmo Action. Now I've made it back into the Osmo Action, and that's what I'm going to do right now is set that white balance to about 5600. And then right here you can also change the color. Today we're going to be doing normal. You have normal and decentralized. Decentralized is going to work best on really sunny days, and the LUTs that I have found that work the best with decentralized are actually Sony S-Log 2 LUTs. They work almost perfectly. But for today, we're going to be going normal. I've got my grid lines on, and then this is another big feature with the app that I like is you can turn your zebras on, and you can also have a histogram, which you don't get on the tiny little screen on the front of the DJI Osmo Action. So you can see the sky back there. It's giving me an overexposure, and on my hands it's giving me an overexposure. So I know I need to turn my shutter speed down just a little bit. Little bit more. And that is a proper exposure. So it's reading one stop under on the exposure indicator, but when I use the zebras and the histogram, I'm getting a better exposure even though the indicator is saying I'm underexposed. So let's see what the DJI Osmo Action sounds like and looks like compared to an old Canon T3i. So this is footage and audio from the DJI Osmo Action. Most of the time when it's not windy, I don't really even like running an external microphone on this camera because you can't control the gain. So most of the time I'm either externally recording with a Zoom recorder or my phone for audio, or I'm just not using a microphone like today. I'm standing really close to the camera, so the audio should be pretty good. I'm less than an arm's distance away from the camera in this shot. And again, this is the normal color. If you're using the Descent-alike, I would wait for a really sunny day, and then you can use the free Sony S-Log2 LUTs that they have on their website if you're into color grading. But you can get a really good image just with the camera and then using a smartphone as a monitor. The Osmo Action is a great camera, and it's still holding its value because it is such a good camera. I think the Osmo Action 1 and the Osmo Action 4 are the way to go with these. And using them as a talking head camera like this, you can get some really good footage. That's it for me. I'll see you guys later.